4 years ago, my oldest was 1 year old, and I found myself waking up in the emergency room wondering, what story would I leave behind? What did I stand for? What would he know about me? Would he know what I valued, what I wanted for him? And every day since, I have worked towards figuring this out for him, but really for myself. And last week on the podcast, we talked about our whys. I talked about the why you get started and the why you keep going forward. And this is an example of that. Why I got started was to figure this out for him and for myself. And what story would I have left behind? What did I want him to know? How did I want to live by example? But why I keep going is, yes, both of those things, but because I'm only given one life. He is going to have his own life, and it's going to be built upon my parenting and my leadership and how I guide. But at the end of the day, he's his own person, and he can find and establish these things himself. And it's my job to do it for me, not just for him. And I am definitely guilty, as so many mothers are, of saying, I'm doing this for my kids. And you may be, and I am, and we are. But at what point do we make it more about us? At what point do we really understand that this is for us? That your goals and what you're doing, sure, it is for your kids, because everything you do affects your children, good and bad. But when you get to dive into these choices and decisions and goals, and you honor and you realize that it is for you, that's actually really magical, because it gives you this new self-ownership, this new ability to accept where you're at, where you're going. It gives you this ability to say, this is for me. It can be a cop out, and it can be fuel to the fire when you use your kids as the reason. And it's okay to use them in some ways. But what if you didn't? What if you thought about where you're currently at, the current thing that you're working on, and you said, this is just for me? This actually isn't for my kids. What if you took them out of the picture, and what if you challenged yourself to say, I'm doing this for me? Do you already know you're doing it for you? Or have you decided that it is partially for them? And if you are saying that you're doing it for you, if you are going after your goals for you, have you communicated that out loud? Have you said that to your kids? I'm doing this for me because mom wants to do this, because it makes me happy, because it makes me feel this way about myself, because this is what I want, because I have desires and I just want to. What is your reasoning, and have you told someone else? Sure, I do a lot of things for my kids, and I want them to see that I'm doing things for them. But I want you to understand, there's, a quote that we often can hear. It says, many parents will say, I would die for my kids, or I would kill for my kids, but would you live for them? And I think that that is really important, because at the end of the day, if our kids know that we did something for them, does that really benefit them? Or does it benefit them when they know we did it for us? I'm here to ask the questions. I don't always know all the answers, but the conversation that I think we need to have with ourselves internally is to say, if I tell my kids that I did this for them, does that really help? Does it really help them understand what to do for themselves, which is really what we're trying to teach them at the end of the day, when I say it was for someone else and not for me? And I don't think that's true. I don't think that's really the case if we get honest with ourselves and we really look at it. I think when we be a little selfish, when we step into things and we say, no, I did this for me, it helps teach our kids those skills of self-compassion, self-respect, self-growth, self-desire, the wants to lean it into. And so when you look at your goals and you look at what you're working towards, and you listen to our guests and you look at the healing journeys and the stories, I want you to think about, is it for them or is it for me? And if you are doing things on your day-to-day right now, if you look at your calendar and you wake up in the morning and you go to sleep and everything you're doing is for someone else, everything you're doing is for them, what are you doing for you? And what are you teaching them if from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, everything you're doing is for someone else? Are you then creating a cycle and a pattern that they'll do the same for when they grow up? And is that what you want? If you're listening to this podcast, I don't think so. I think we want our kids to do things that make them feel good. that they're going out and becoming the best version of themselves, just like we want to. We want them to see us as a leader, as a guide, to say, Mom did that for herself, not Mom did that for me. Then it's this people-pleasing tendencies that we're all trying to break now as adults, and we don't want to recreate that. So how can we, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, make sure that there's a balance? That each day we're doing something for us, if not everything. I think as moms, we're probably not doing everything for us, but how can we make more of it about what we do for us? Now, here's where they collide. I don't know about you, but I love being a mom. I love it. And so being a mom is doing something for me. It is. It makes my heart so full. It feels like one of my biggest purposes, if not one of the biggest things I'm supposed to do. But I know that it is not all of me. I know that there is this version of who I am, just like there is who you are outside of motherhood, outside of all the titles that we carry. And we have the ability to let them coexist, but they are not all encompassing. And we can show our children that, hey, I am mom, and being your mom is something for me. I am doing this for you and for me, just like we talked about last week. But there are other things that I do just for me. There are things that are just for my heart, for my health, for my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health that sure in turn make me a better mom, which in turn allow me to give more to you. But my why, the reason that I do these things, it's for me. It's for me to feel good because I deserve to feel good. We deserve to feel good as moms, as humans outside of motherhood. And so each day when you look at your schedule and you wake up and you're making breakfast and getting kids dressed, or you're helping them get their last minute project done and get out the door, or you're headed to work, or you're making a meal for somebody else, or doing whatever you need to do, you're checking all these boxes for who? Again, the tricky part is it's the life you built. So sure, it's for you. But are the boxes you're checking for you, or is the big picture for you? And if you go through those check boxes and you go through those daily tasks and you realize none of these make me feel good, I'm doing them for someone else or something else. That sure, I asked for this. Now we're getting into mom guilt again. Now you're feeling guilty because you wanted this, but it's not for you. Do you see how we fall into this pattern? So what if you broke it? What if you looked at your day and you said, okay, I do have to do all these things for something I once wanted that I still want, but it's for someone else. But what am I going to do for me today? Today, I'm going to do this for me. Totally unrelated. And I want you to make a list. Finishing this episode today, I want you to sit down at some point today. I want you to make a list of 20 things that you could do within a week. So it doesn't take a ton of prep or planning, that make you feel good. You don't care what anyone else wants. You don't care why you're doing it. It's for you. It makes you feel good. And it can be something silly like having prepped fruits and vegetables in the fridge makes me feel good inside. My kids don't care. My husband doesn't care, but it makes me feel good when I open the fridge. So maybe it's something like that that still benefits the common good of your household and your family, but it's because you want it and it feels good for you. Now, cleaning the toilets is not an example of that. We do not clean the toilets to feel good. Even if you having a clean toilet makes you feel good, it's different, right? That is someone else's thing that you are cleaning. That is not it, ladies. But what is something that makes you feel good? It's going for a walk. I splurged on Black Friday for a red light mask. HSA covered it, and I love wearing my red light mask. And that is just for me. It's not for anybody else. Maybe it's making yourself a little mocktail beverage or a real one if you want a cocktail, whatever it is. Maybe it's meeting up with a friend, getting your nails done, spending a little extra time doing your hair and makeup, getting a new shirt out, getting dressed up for yourself, reading a book, coloring. What is something you can do that is just for you because it makes you feel good? What is it that you want to do? I saw a friend recently on Instagram. She has kids that are really little, they're in preschool. And she's waking up in the morning and she is drawing a little house and roads and all these things for her kids on a piece of paper. And it's helping her have less screen time in the household. It's giving her kids an activity, but she's drawing these beautiful pictures and coloring them in. And I can't help but know that this is partially for her. And this is an example. Maybe it is disguised